So what we're doing is we've got this challenge, teaching second year students. And in the degree, what we've done is identified a couple of key courses that we can actually turn into intensive mode. And this has been done for a range of reasons, and there are some great benefits to it and a few limitations. One of the ideas is this allows students to be able to pick up extra courses, and also if they've failed something in first year, they can then add an extra second year course in while repeating a first year. So it allows them to just balance that out by teaching outside of the traditional semesters. Very keenly, a few core courses and where that type of approach works really well. And one of them is second year botany, which I teach. So that's a driving force in part for it. We actually run it, the lectures and the labs and the field work happen before the start of second semester in those 2 weeks. So the students get a shorter holiday, and that's one of the downsides, but they get to come along and do all the lectures, all of the labs, and then in day 1 of semester 2, they can start their normal coursework in other courses. We can also do a building process by doing this 4-part, material in the lectures, content, heavy content, lots of them listening to me, but mix it around a bit. Then we've got the labs each afternoon, so they have the practical demonstration of that. They engage with the material, but still a fairly structured way. Then we've got the tutes to go through in that discussion part, but the field work is what they really love. Taking them out onto the spit, into the local forests, into the dunes, etc. They find that one of the very best things. And it's lovely because I can introduce a principle, why do plants have different leaf shapes? But when we take them to the dune, and they're actually sitting in the hot sun out on the beach, and they see the plants close up and curl up their leaves during the heat of the morning, it's really dramatically engaging with it. And then they have to write about that. What's the abiotic conditions? What's the adaptations that they have to that? And again, it's that reinforcement, and it's taking parts from several different lectures and making it real on the ground in the place. And it's answering the question, why are those plants there? Why do they look like that? And it's that why, remember, not just the what. It gives them a really strong sense of the what. And they really love that. Then the end of the 2 weeks, we have a prac exam to assess how much they've learnt some basic identification skills. Then they have a week to prepare to the end of week 1 of the normal semester, then their theory exam. Then a week and a half after that, they hand in their major vegetation assessment. And so that works really well in that pacing. It condenses a whole lot of material into one go, and it has this repetition component and this interactive component in that building. They love the fact they can get into the field. They like the fact that they can do most of the contact time for a course before the semester starts. You also have to modify the content, the amount of content, because there is a limit on how much can be taken in that period. And it's not going to suit all courses. You have certain types of material, the amount of material, the way you teach the material, the way you present it, you've got to suit it to that intensive mode. You've got to be able to make sure that you use that opportunity to get the most. The lab gives a kinesthetic, experiential learning. The field gives that experiential learning. It's really important to be doing that, but also then having that theoretical underpinning. So looking at those different ways that people are going to be engaging, presenting the material in as many different ways as possible, and again using storytelling as part of that structure. The other things that's really important is practical skills and careers. So they're not necessarily interested in botany. So we've made the major assignment totally skills-based, totally practical, totally related to what they are most likely to have to do in work jobs related to environmental science. So whether they're working for a council or environmental consulting or a conservation organisation or whoever is doing a vegetation assessment for a development. So it's developing those professional skills, testing out how they interact, changing the dynamics, and also making it clear to them that transference, that it's their job to read the material beforehand, it's their job to look it up. Where they get stuck as new people doing something, they've got every right to ask the questions, but they have to have at least read the material first before they can ask me a question, because it's just like a boss. And that's a really important, because part of what we're doing by second year is that transitioning from coming into a degree to being job ready, and those job ready skills about how you'd interact in a workplace. And that's really important for them to start to learn. One of the things that is really lovely is just that part of them realising how much they've learned and realising how, at the end of the first week, we sit there and say, imagine if I'd asked you to have to do this at the beginning of the week. They would have thought, no, I can't, or no, I wouldn't know enough, or I wouldn't have got that. And so watching them, the joy for them of seeing the build in knowledge, the building and understanding, and the engagement with the material, but also the passion, seeing that they get much more interested in things. I love it when they tell me, oh yeah, I went home and I told my mum about that. She was really interested, or yeah, I pasted that on social media, or that type of a thing. The fact that when they're finding that they've become so interested in stuff, they're telling other people. They've suddenly empowered themselves to become learners and teachers.